had Mr. Tendai Biti declaring that the MDC alliance has won these elections even before an announcement had been made by the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission, which is the right body to announce the elections in this country.
Well, the elections in this country, the results have been posted outside polling stations. The MDC fielded election agents at every other polling station during this election. And this reflects the maturity of the MDC. Over the years, we have learned where the rigging was happening, that the rigging was happening at the polling stations. The various amendments that have been done to the electoral laws, chief and most important amongst those being that the results must be posted at the polling station. And secondly, the MDC has been able, for the first time, to deploy agents. Therefore, it means that at every polling station, agents must sign what is generally referred here as a V11 form.
But Mr. Mlilo, was that not insightful? Because generally you had an environment where you had the MDC alliance campaigning, and for example, ZANU-PF territory, ZANU-PF campaigning in MDC alliance territory. Was it not insightful for Mr. Biti to have stood on that podium, surrounded by thousands of your party of his party faithful, and basically declare the MDC alliance as winners? Yet that had not yet been announced by the official. Was that not insightful for him to do that?
Christina, that's precisely the fallacy of the argument. That if we create an environment in which Zimbabweans are campaigning for themselves, that should be celebrated. It should be something that is normal in any democratic country. And it's also a reflection that the past elections have been violent. If there's a significant notice that the elections in 2008 have been markedly different from the previous elections, it reflects the character and nature of the state that we are fighting. And therefore, it's basically praising a fish for swimming, that the environment is free and fair, and it should be normal in any democratic country. And if a person announces...
But taking into account the political environment, Mr. Mlilo, we know the history of the election process in Zimbabwe. It has been violent. So there had been hope perhaps that this time around there would not be the kind of violence that we saw that has now resulted in the death of 3 people. Was it not insightful? Did he not take into account the political environment, that what he said could have led to people being on the streets and seeing now bloodshed?
We are not children of a lesser God. We are not children of a lesser God. We are entitled to democratic rights as everyone else. If someone says what Mr. Biti said in South Africa, that will not be news. So why should we be subjected to rules and regulations that basically suggest that we are children and we cannot think for ourselves? The idea of creating a democratic Zimbabwe is a Zimbabwe in which we are able to freely express ourselves, fulfill the promises of the national liberation struggle, which chief amongst them and many more would be that Zimbabweans must be able to express themselves. What I was trying to explain to you is that what the MDC simply did was to collate the results at every polling station and add the numbers. And it's clear that what the result would be. If that is consequent to that, I don't see anything wrong with it.